National championship game. He had 4 goals, 2 assists.
Hey, CreatorsGame.tv, I'm Tommy Johnson.
Kyle Harrison.
The brackets are out, the games are out. It's time to make our picks, man.
Absolutely.
You know? Who do you like in the first game? Let's just go to the first game right away. UVA versus Villanova.
Got to go with UVA. I know they've had a rough couple weeks in the season, getting 2 losses to Duke, but I see them coming out and putting a spank on Villanova.
Absolutely, great attack. You got to go with them hands down. Like, what is UVA? 13-2. They have 2 losses. Villanova coming in 11-5, but not a great schedule. Right? Not a tough schedule. All right, let's go to number 2. Your boys, John Hopkins versus 12-3 Brown.
Right. I'll give you one guess.
You're going to go with Hopkins,
I'm going to
right?
go with Hopkins by 16.
By 16.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm just going to hold up.
Wait, hold on. I'm thinking
Go
my
ahead.
boys are going to come out. They're going to be at home. It's going to be winning some face-offs. Their offense is going to get going. They're going to have a great game, and I'm going with my boys by 16.
By 16.
I said that, Chaz Woodson, yes.
I'm going to go, obviously, with Hopkins, but I'm going to say their goalie is a game changer. You know, he can have a great day. So that's the only thing I think Hopkins has to look out for.
Oh, wait, which
right?
even the Brown goalie?
Yeah.
Oh, he's
absolutely.
phenomenal. Yeah, and if he plays well, then we may not win by 16. It may be, a 1 or 2 goal game. But
Right.
I think if we get to him early in the first couple minutes of that game, get a couple in on him, we might be able to break him down.
Absolutely. So we're both going with Hopkins on that,
Absolutely.
right? Let's go to the next one.
Sure.
You've got Cornell versus Hofstra, right? And who do you like in that one?
It's a tough choice, with Max Siebel and John Glenn and all the guys at Cornell. Really talented team, great coaching staff. But I got to go with the boys up at Hofstra and Seth Tierney.
Yeah.
I do. I think they're going to come out, they're going to play hard. Those kids have nothing to lose, and I think they're going to show that in that game against Cornell.
Wow, that's a big one. I'm going to stick with Cornell and Max Siebel.
You will.
Right, absolutely. I love that guy, and I think, I met him a few years ago at the Torrington, and I just think that he's such a team leader. I don't think that they're going to lose to Hofstra. Even though I do, what I would love to see, and it's going to bring us to our next game, is Tierney versus Tierney in the following matchup. So let's go right to Princeton versus UMass.
Yep, got to go with Princeton. I think Coach Tierney's got too much experience in the playoffs, and I think Princeton's actually playing very well this year, and they should actually have a pretty easy game in that first round.
Right, the only reason I say UMass has got a chance at it is because of their goalie, Doc.
Yeah, I think similar to the Brown goalie, he's a game changer. And so if he comes out and he's playing well and he gets hot in the first quarter, it might be a long day for Princeton. For sure.
Absolutely. And then Princeton, I think that they can run it the whole way through because Tierney's defenses are just phenomenal.
Yep,
I think he's put most of the defenses in that I think most of the teams around the country actually run.
Yep.
And he can switch them up back and forth. It's whether his offense can put 4 games in a row. We come right back. We're going to go into the other side of the bracket, so stick with us. Kyle Harrison, Tommy Johnson, CreatorsGame.tv. Be right back. Okay, we're back with CreatorsGame.tv. Tommy Johnson.
Along with Kyle Harrison as always.
That's right. Thanks, buddy. So we've already picked the first half, right? Let's move on to the second half of the bracket, right?
Yes.
And first game up, we're going to have Duke versus Navy.
Who are you going with?
Hands down, Duke is one of my favorite teams. Besides Loyola Greyhounds and some other picks that I have. But I do love Duke, right? They've been in it. They've been real close the last few years. I've always been a fan of theirs. Did some work with them.
Yep.
I just like Duke. I love their head coach. I love the way they play. I love the way their attack hustles and rides. Crotty, I think, might be able to put this team on his back. Get rid of those past few years and move ahead.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I'm a huge fan of the Duke coach and the coaching staff and everything that they teach those kids. So I see, like you just said, I see Ned Karate. If he plays well, they could ride his back all the way to the national championship game. So I'm going with Duke in that first game.
All right, me too. So we both agree on that one. Let's move over to UNC versus UMBC.
Sure.
And Don Zimmerman's Retrievers.
Yeah, I think the Retrievers are going to have a tough one. I think UNC right now is playing very well and playing with a lot of confidence. And I see the UMBC kids going into that game and almost feeling like maybe they shouldn't be there. I think just, to go back earlier in the season, UMBC was finally playing well, and my cousin plays for the team, so I talk to him frequently and kind of find out what the team morale's like. And they stepped out in the Hopkins field, and they had just had a great couple games. They won, beat a couple teams they shouldn't have beat, and they stepped out in the Hopkins field. And just discussing with my cousin, he was like, "It was like we felt like we just couldn't win, and we couldn't compete."
Right off the get-go?
Right off the get-go, just because they stepped on the field and all the history there. and seeing that Hopkins jersey. So I feel like potentially the UMBC kids are going to step on the field against North Carolina and get a little shook up and maybe take a loss there.
Wow, that's a good one. But I tell you what, UMBC has a great midfield, right?
Oh, yeah,
Without a doubt. And before the season ended, I think they're rolling in at 51% with the extra man. So they had the #1 extra man in the entire country.
Yes.
So they can. I'm just going to say, give them a little bit of credit. Or not. I mean, I know you're giving them credit, but who's going to match up against Delaney, Hunt,
Sure.
right?
No,
and the midfield unit of UNC.
And then who's
super
going
strong,
to cover the
right?
kid? Billy Bitters at attack for UNC. The kid
Absolutely.
who's putting up 4 and 4 against UVA. Who's planning on covering him again?
Right. So
UMBC.
I'm going UNC as well.
I am.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. Next game, we've got Notre Dame basically at home against Maryland Terrapins.
Upset. Yeah, I'm going with Maryland.
You are.
I can't. I know we go back and forth about this a lot, but I see Notre Dame just hasn't played enough talented teams for me, and I feel like they're going to get on the field with Maryland. And if Maryland gets out to an early lead, I think Notre Dame folds. But at the same time, I think it can go the other way. I think we've seen Maryland this year when a team goes up 3 or 4, just kind of, I don't want to say quit, but morale goes down, they slow down a little bit. So I think in that game, it's going to be important who gets on the board early, who gets up 2 or 3 goals, because I think the other team's not crawling out of that hole.
All right, so you're going with Maryland in that one?
I am.
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to go with the seniors at Notre Dame, at home, continuing that winning streak that they've got going right now. I think those seniors are going to lead them through this game, and I think it's going to be what I call field justice in the fact that Maryland squeaked in, was on the bubble, they get into the tournament, but Notre Dame's going to just phase them out right off the get-go saying, hey, we deserve to be here. Even though Maryland has 600 feet of attack. I mean, they're just so strong on attack, right? I wouldn't want to play them as a defenseman, but I'm going with Notre Dame in that game.
I think you just made a great statement. You're saying Notre Dame is going to tell Maryland they don't deserve
to be there, right?
Maryland's going to do the exact same thing Notre Dame. They have no business being in the tournament.
All right, with that said, we'll move on to the last game in the first bracket, which we have Syracuse versus Siena. What do you got there? I mean, I know you're going with Syracuse.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Syracuse.
And why?
I think they're just a better team.
I mean, is Siena going to roll into the Dome and beat Syracuse? Not a chance.
You know what? I think it'd be great for our sport if it happened, but I got to be honest, I don't see it happening. I got to go with Syracuse.
I agree that it would be great for our sport if Siena and Villanova were playing in the national championship, 3 weeks from now, but I don't see that happening.
I don't either. Maybe even Loyola can make it there, even though they're not in the tournament.
No, that's ice cold. Well, how about this? How about we have a national championship, right? And then Loyola just plays the winner to show you that Loyola should have been there to begin with. And that's how I see it going.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Here's another point. Loyola not making the tournament, obviously I'm an alumni, so I'm heartbroken. But why not, if 2 teams are on the bubble like Loyola and Brown at the same time, why not have a couple games in the beginning, right? Let's have 4 teams that are on the bubble. You could take the Harvard, the Bucknell. You could have those teams on the bubble play to see who plays in the first round.
I like it. Yeah, I like it.
I like that too, because there's no way you can add 16 more teams, but you could, I think, have 2 to 4 more games in the opening, right?
All right. I agree.
CreatorsGame.tv, we're breaking down the bracketology on this Monday, so we'll be right back. Kyle Harrison and Tommy Johnson. Stay with us.
CreatorsGame.tv, I'm Kyle Harrison, back with Tommy Johnson, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Final Four. What's your Final Four looking like?
I'm going to have UVA versus Princeton, and then I'm going to have Duke versus Syracuse.
Okay. What do you think about the matchup?
Syracuse coming, I'm going to start there. Always a great team. They've always got talent on the field. Duke's got a lot of talent as well. I'm going to go with more of my heart, and obviously I've lost a championship to Syracuse, and I'm going with Duke on the right side. Absolutely. I think they can put it together. Hopefully Karate carries them a little bit through. I mean, obviously you got to have an entire team to win. This would be your third game out of 3. Like we said, you got to put 4 great games together at the end of the season to win this championship. But I like Duke. I'm going with Duke.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a heart pick, right? But I'm going with them because I think it's still a great matchup, right? The other side, I'm going with, I'm going with UVA. I think they had a couple tough losses to Duke, but I think. And I do like Princeton. I love Princeton's defense, the way they switch it up. I mean, they'll slide across the cage defensively, and then next thing you know, they'll slide from the crease defensively, and then the next thing you know, they're switching up and they're sliding adjacent. So I love the way that they match up against every single team. But I'm going with UVA and how well UVA is playing with the team at the beginning of the season. Yeah, 2 losses to Duke. But like you said before, that's only one team that they've lost to. It's not necessarily 2 different teams. So I'm going UVA. and Duke in the championship.
Wow, that was a UVA.
I know. I'm tired of seeing the orange colors in there, without a doubt. Don't get me wrong. I'm tired of that.
We all are.
A little bit tired of the blues too. I'd like to see a little green and gray. Maybe just enter the tournament. Not even win the championship.
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
Let's come over.
All right, so who do you have?
Hold
Go
off
ahead.
on your championship.
Go ahead.
And then let me talk a little bit on the Final Four. Hofstra, great matchup. You got Coach Petro and Coach Tierney going against each other. Coach Tierney coached under Coach Petramala at Hopkins for 5 years, so you got a pretty cool dynamic there. And I'm going to take a leap of faith again.
Yeah.
I'm going with Hofstra. I see Hofstra.
I love that.
Upsetting the boys at Hop, and Coach T taking his team to the national championship game. And then in the Duke-Cuse matchup, I got to go with Cuse just because both teams are talented. I don't like Duke. So,
Hands down.
Ned
Just
Crotty,
don't like 'em.
Yeah, Ned Crotty, great player. Ponzani, great player. Great coach, great staff. Everything about Duke is great. I'm not taking anything away from them. Just if I had to pick a team, it wouldn't be that. So I'm going to go with Syracuse and Hofstra in the finals.
Syracuse and Hofstra in the finals. Wow.
New York final, yeah.
Well, I bet Seth Tierney loves that.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, he is one of my best friends and mentors and all that good stuff. But with that being said, I really just believe these kids are going to come into this tournament and just play as hard as you've ever seen a team play. And the fact that they have a great leader in Coach Tierney, I think that's a great combination, and we're going to see them take it far away.
All right. I just like the fact that they're not wearing orange.
Oh, yeah. Be a new color for you in the final, for sure.
Absolutely. All right, so we'll be right back. We'll go over our championship pick when we get back. Creators get back.